Hey everyone, welcome back to Preston's Sketchpad. Just gonna finish my video about gestures, so let's get back into it. So when we left off, I just finished this drawing and I was going over the benefits to having more energy and motion in your gestures. So as you can see here with the drawing of the gesture that I did, there's some curves, but it's mostly stiff. Now, if I was to redo this gesture, you could see that by adding more energy, more motion, more curves, giving it that C-spine, with that curve, it's going to come off as a lot more flowing. Now, one of the things I did mention was perspective in the last video. So going over that again, um, the reason why having different angles in your gestures and planning how your shots are going to look and how you want the picture to lay out, because one, it does help you plan the perspective, but it also helps you show the energy. So if I'm planning on drawing a picture of someone getting punched, I want to show the motion of the arm coming across the body, or the follow through, or the wind up. You don't want to just show the contact. You want to show the energy before and after, not just contact. So with this gesture of the perspective that we did, I have the arm going to the body with the foreshortening, with the hand in front, and then slight curve in the spine. You can see with the perspective on the arm, it does make a big difference in the layout of the picture. And then you can see that the other arm is slightly bent back behind the body, and all in all, the perspective and the gesture with the arm showing the perspective does make a big difference. It's very similar to if I was to hold my hand straight out at you, you wouldn't see my arm, but you'd see my hand. It'd be much closer because my hand is coming at you. Now, the picture right there, obviously a bad example because that's not an interesting view of someone getting punched. You want to show the arm coming across. An example of why you want to show motion is used every day in animation, but it's also basic. So, for instance, I'm drawing this diagram of a ball bouncing. So it squishes when it hits the ground, it expands in the air, and goes back to normal, and squishes when it hits the ground again. That's showing the energy, the transformation, the motion of the ball, where all the molecules and energy and everything's directed. When it compacts, all the energy is going down, and when it bounces off, all the energy expands. It's much more interesting than if the ball always stayed in the same shape. So, going on with gestures, some examples of the perspective that I was talking about would be that foreshadowing of, or not the foreshadowing, sorry, the foreshortening of the arm. So, showing the front arm much closer to you than the rest of the body, and the perspective in it does give off, as I was saying, the motion, the energy of the action that you want to show. It's a good way to show the action of what your character's doing, whether he's bringing down a hammer or lifting up a gun or lifting up a bowl of soup. It doesn't matter what energy or action you're going for. Showing one part of the motion is better than just showing the end results. So instead of just showing the fist hitting someone's face, you'd show the after effects, the follow through. So he's already hit the guy in the face, and now the guy's flying back. You picture it. You don't want a straight on simple gesture. So here's an example of some differences that gestures can actually have when you play them out. Straight on and simple and no energy, just very vertical and stiff, versus gestures that come with a lot more motion. So on the left, I'm going to do simple gestures with very stiff and straightforward styles. And then on the right, I'll do some really quick gestures with a little bit of motion, a little bit more uh, flexibility and curves in them. And you can see that even though the one on the right isn't as interesting, it's still more interesting than the one on the left because the one on the left is so simple. So with the bottom left one, it's just a quick gesture of someone leaning against something. And then if you were to change that angle and show that moment through a different perspective, you could show that the spine is curved against the wall. You could have the arm coming up to the head and then the other arm in the pocket. Very quick and easy, but one is always going to be more interesting than the other because it's not as boring. You can show more with a curve than you can with a straight line. So now I'll just do another quick form of a gesture. This isn't as stick figure or the skeleton of the gesture as I usually do. So I'm just going to do a quick outline, rough drawing of two forms. And the first one I'm doing here is going to be very simple, straightforward gesture. Everything's pretty vertical. Arms are straight down, hips are straight down. Everything's pretty much straight up and down in the drawing. Very stiff, not much going on. Now, if we were to take a more interesting pose, and let's compare the one on the left, a straightforward drawing of a man standing up, versus someone bending backwards, let's say, you're going to see a big difference. Now, obviously, there's a difference in pictures. One person's standing still and one person is bending, so there's going to be that. But at the same time, um, you can plan each picture, each scene, each shot that you're drawing or planning on drawing, for that matter, differently. So you can change the angle. That's the great thing about storyboarding or doing gestures, is that you can change the angle based on how you see it. If the You can change the shot. If the angle that the straightforward doesn't look, do a 3/4 of him leaning or walking. You can show some motion by showing a different angle with different perspective can actually change how people obviously see it, but it also change how they react, how interesting they find the picture. So you can see that the one on the right has a lot more um, curves to it, which makes it just overall more interesting because more is happening and your eye flows through it more. It's not just almost like a stamp on with the one on the left. So then finally, I'm just going to go over this really quick, is simple shading. So taking this theory, this perspective, this concept, I guess, and you just put simple shading on something like this, you can see the difference in the art. So going through that, I'll just shade this really quickly. Rough, just dark and light lighting source, and you can see the one on the right, even with the simple shading that I've done, does look a lot more interesting because you see so much is happening. Anyway, guys, I just want to thank you for watching the video and look forward to posting some more stuff soon. So hopefully I'll see you then.